we go.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Hey everyone, I'm Roel Dionisio and I'm joined with Robert Boardman, and we're here at the Wi-Fi Now event in Redwood City, south of San Francisco.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the Wi-Fi Alliance announcement of EasyMesh, which is aimed toward home networking, easier home networking. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, Robert. What do you think?
Let's talk about mesh. Or sorry, it's now called the EasyMesh.
EasyMesh, because it's supposed to be easy for the home user to deploy it.
I don't know that they've done anything revolutionary with mesh itself. I think mesh is still mesh. I think it's how you get things added to mesh that they're kind of trying to evolve. Right. Such as like what they did with WPA, where you could click button, connect to your wireless network. They're doing that with the APs now. They're saying interoperability between vendors. I would like to see that one. Part, I'd like to see that one happen, but
something really interesting from this announcement was saying there's interoperability between different vendors' equipment and how the mesh would interact between those.
If you were EasyMesh certified, of course.
Right, you got to be EasyMesh certified. The documents out there on Wi-Fi Alliance's website. But the way this EasyMesh works is you actually have one device that's going to act as a controller. So now
it's a control. You're getting a controller.
Going to have a controller with EasyMesh, and this controller will coordinate communications and get measurements from what they call agents, and these agents are on your APs downstream that are meshed to backhaul back to this controller.
Yep. And they're now calling the AP the client-serving AP. It's called a front haul connection.
Yeah. So you got this front haul, then you got the back haul.
But your AP, that is your controller, can also be a back haul and a front haul AP. There's a lot of new terminology.
And I don't think the home users to be expected to understand these.
No.
The way I actually see this playing out, because the first day of Wi-Fi Now was really about home networking.
Yep.
And how the carriers are going to tackle the home networks because home Wi-Fi is so terrible.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of calls from the help desk, to the help desk about my Wi-Fi sucks, or I don't know my Wi-Fi password.
Yeah.
I can't stream my Netflix in my home probably because
of
coverage.
That brings up a good point. What's the biggest limitation of mesh?
It's throughput.
Throughput. But now they're over here. We need to stream 4K, 8K videos. My security cameras are all going to be 4K. We're going to start doing, metrics where we're going to do things that will allow the APs to find the location of the person, and you're sending all of this data and more and more and more data.
But that's where so this is a different topic, because this is where they're saying 802.11ax is going to help solve this capacity problem, range.
Yeah.
But they are putting a big focus on the mesh portion, because here's how I see this playing out: is you have your carrier such as Comcast, because they announced their
XPi. Yeah.
And I see this gateway being the Wi-Fi controller. Yep. And the reason why we have EasyMesh for vendor interoperability is because now the carrier can help optimize your home network, where you have this XPi gateway as the controller. Then you can go in and bring in your APs, and you can mesh them up to this gateway.
But now here we're getting into a very complicated situation. It's like, okay, so you've got your Comcast gateway, right? They're a pretty slick box that they have there. And then, so how is Eros going to feel when you're like, I just want the APs, I don't want your controller, or Orbi, or any of these.
This is where we have the complexity of this, because we don't really see vendors working together.
Play well together.
And how they're going to incorporate any kind of algorithm and the measurements they're collecting, because measurements are collected from these agents or these downstream APs, the mesh APs, and they send them back up to the controller, and the controller is what makes the decision of how traffic's going to be routed between mesh APs, for example.
So I have another big concern with it, and you and I were talking about this, as even like Comcast is bringing out these little pods, these little plug-inable mesh APs. They're the size of like an air freshener. So, I mean, it's a really cool looking device. It's not ugly, because usually when you look at these plug-in repeaters, it's this big box. It has antennas poking all over the place. My question is where are we going to get when I have a wireless problem and I call the help desk, and are they just going to use that as a mechanism to sell more pods. It's like, my Wi-Fi connection sucks. Oh, you need to buy another pod for that.
And I think that's true. I think they'll be able to sell more. I mean, it always comes down to revenue, right?
Yeah.
But I think they're also trying to make more revenue by getting rid of these calls from people at home and then sending texts out there only to determine, I'm here on site, you need more APs to cover your home.
But then if you're using it as a mesh and we're putting that gateway down in the corner, which they say they're working on trying to help people find a better place to put that initial gateway, now we have multiple hops. It's like you're putting pods across your house, and now, and what happens to mesh again? When you have more hops, you lose throughput.
But if you're thinking about what we have now, which is 802.11n and AC, we're very limited with what we're going to be able to do backhaul wise, right? There's not enough spectrum. Like, are these devices going to support DFS, for example, so we have more channels to use? Or if we're going to use 80 or even 160 megahertz channel widths, you're still going to have some capacity issue. But I think they're really relying upon 802.11ax to help bring this to the home, because they are saying, what did we hear from Qualcomm yesterday? That 802.11ax is going to save 2.4.
2.4 is not dead, guys.
It's not. Qualcomm's going to revive it.
Qualcomm has said it yesterday. 802.
You'll see it on video.
2.4.
I quoted them on Twitter and said 2.4 is coming out, and someone made that comment too. They said, are we going to get back 2.4?
So Qualcomm is making some pretty heavy claims on 2.4.
But we have yet to see how that actually works in an environment, a dense environment.
And that's the thing. It's like, I'm glad that they're doing this mesh. They're actually looking the home and understanding that one of these little gateway boxes isn't enough to service a home, especially with their data needs. They're going out and about. My problem is that I don't know that they're putting enough in making sure it's done right. They're not taking the time to help eliminate those calls. They're trying to make technology that people can just buy that will fix the problem, Maybe
the focus isn't so much on fixing Wi-Fi in the house. I mean, we're not going to see the home user pay for a design unless your carrier is now going to roll out Wi-Fi experts who will help design that for you.
I mean, is it going to get to one of those things where you now go to buy your Comcast service and they're like, how many rooms in your house? We get one pod per room? I mean, is that going to be the new thing? One pod per room?
I think that will be the new thing, especially with 802.11ax and how they're claiming
these
speeds.
If they're their own mesh AP, now you're getting channel utilization issues at home. You're starting to kick out.
And like I said, that's why
we need more.
That's why these companies are saying 802.11ax is going to save us. This is our. But I have yet to see anything that, like, on paper, it looks good, right? In theory, all those numbers look great. You know, when you start saying we're going to get up to over a gig on Wi-Fi.
It's like.
But we're going to have to use 80 plus 80 channel width. And then how many channels do you have to actually distribute amongst your mesh APs? That's the challenge, I think.
I think it's a lot of great ideas. I would like to see it in action, though, before I am convinced that mesh home networks is going to...
And then there's the whole default settings. It's going to get those speeds, they're going to enable all of the defaults. So you're going to see
you see 80s all over.
With.
Could you imagine that? 5 or 6 pods and a controller all kicking out 80 megahertz wide channels and full power?
Yeah. You'll get your coverage, but you probably won't get the performance that you actually are thinking you're going to get by getting these pods from your
and then
carrier.
Add additional hops from the root. So it's
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, especially if we hear from the actual engineers behind this. Because the way I see it playing out, you have your carrier Xfinity who has the gateway, and then now they can actually partner with specific vendors to provide, like, go with these guys. These guys are EasyMesh certified. We can actually work better together, because within the controller functionality of EasyMesh, there is still actually an RRM.
Yes, there is an R. Man, I tell you what, 2.4 is dead and RRM is dead, man. It's getting brought back.
We're bringing mesh. We're bringing controllers. We're bringing RRM back to the home.
And 2.4, man, and 2.4. Wow.
So it's all coming back. It's all going in the home. We don't know how RRM's going to work.
No.
From what I can see, just cruising around the specification from Wi-Fi Alliance, these APs will send measurements back to the controller. I don't know how much.
What are the measurements are they using?
And it's something we'll have to dig into the specification, but what I want to know is what comes from the actual device. What will the device send back to its agent AP, and then what will that agent AP send back to the controller, and how will those decisions be made? And then Xfinity talking about AI, how does AI play into that?
All right, I'm a little over AI right now. There's only one or two companies that I really believe is actually doing AI. Everybody else is just writing algorithms. Topic. Yeah, it's a different topic for a different video.
But I'd like to see how do we roll in all these discussions, these topics, into a solution that actually works, right?
I find it interesting how complex home network is getting, home Wi-Fi network. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more need for Wi-Fi professionals in the home.
And that's true, because there was a panel yesterday, a Q&A panel about delivering quality, performance, and the experience. And I think 2 of the 4 panelists up there were actually deploying Wi-Fi in homes. But
that was
we're talking about large homes.
Their entire industry. Oh, the one was from Miami doing the high-rise, the MDU buildings.
He was doing high-rises, MDUs, and then you had another who is doing Wi-Fi for very wealthy people, so large homes.
White glove services.
This is where you could see Mesh help out in these homes, and I've done a couple of homes of that size where it's difficult to place APs, especially when you're talking about homes who have
10,000 square foot homes.
You're usually do their business in their homes, so a lot of times they're putting in enterprise grade quality equipment, but that looks ugly in a nice fancy home, right? So if you put like these pods, then you could use EasyMesh to help coordinate all that with your controller. But how much capability do you give to an engineer, or to somebody managing this connectivity, the controller? Like, do you give any ability to the operator?
So do you think now maybe what we're going to start seeing is more of a managed services for Wi-Fi for the home?
Oh, definitely.
So where we go, because that kind of equates your cost right there. It's like, because you, like you said,
that's where the carriers are coming in.
The upfront cost of bringing a professional wireless engineer to do your house might not seem feasible, but at the same time, if you now build a practice around managing those homes, a proper design is what's going to, you know.
I think this is where carriers will actually push that forward, because they have the money, the funds, they have the people to do this, so they can roll out Wi-Fi as a service and say, hey, we can make Wi-Fi better in your home. We can manage it for you. Put in our X5 gateway. Put in these pods. You've got a mini enterprise grade Wi-Fi.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe these controllers are going to start having analytics and insight into these things, that you can do tools and remote management. And are we starting to see Comcast be able, because it's always been, you call Comcast and say my wireless sucks, they go, it's at the D mark, have a good day, not my problem.
You aren't exceeding your throughput, your bandwidth, so everything looks fine. It must be your Wi-Fi. That's how it always. That's the conversation I have.
Have you put it on channel 3?
I do manage a subset of connectivity for homes where they have the gateway in there. And I think that is the most difficult part, is when someone says the Wi-Fi is not good, and the Wi-Fi is coming from the gateway, but it can't provide the full coverage in the home. And that's where these pods of mesh, EasyMesh, will come into play.
It's supposed to fix it.
It's supposed to.
I would like to see a deployment. I'd like to hear from an engineer on how it works and how they're designing it properly.
I think the idea is good. The idea is
It's a good idea.
It's a great idea, because then we actually identify we're tackling an issue that's common everywhere, which is home Wi-Fi. And you don't have Wi-Fi professionals in the homes, and they're actually making it worse for themselves by putting these range extenders. Right. So,
or these random 8-arm
and
super routers.
Any day of the week, I say, don't do extenders. Use mesh. Because I think mesh would actually work. So, I don't know, what else do you think about EasyMesh here? I would recommend people to actually go to Wi-Fi Alliance and look at the specification.
Yes, go and look at the specification. I don't know. So we saw the business case, because that's what we've kind of been seeing, is the business case. The business of Wi-Fi is what we've been watching over the last 2 days. And now what I want to see is how it can be technically implemented, because they have a lot of functionality and a lot of promise in what they want to do with these things.
Yeah, we'll talk about security too.
Yeah.
Because where security most relaxed is in the home.
Yep.
And we were looking at how do you even connect another mesh node? How do you connect that to your existing mesh? And let's say Comcast only gave you 3 pods, but you need 4 or 5. How do you connect this other vendor to your existing?
Yep. It's what they had in the specification. They had a push button,
push config button
connect. So WPA, man, let's do it again. Let's break that hack.
There is a feature in there where this is where this interoperability comes in. There's a set of protocols and sequences that all these devices understand, and when you push the config button,
yes,
it'll automatically
join
into your network.
Most home networks are on a single subnet. Just send a hello.
And
You've already got a controller.
There is a discovery that was in the specification. Yeah. I don't have all the details, but I did see push config button and also a discovery feature.
It'd be nice maybe you just have to, the first time, you just have to manually connect it to the controller, it configs it, and then it can walk away and just...
Or you could use your phone, right? We see how you connect your IoT devices.
Yep.
Connect to it via Bluetooth, push your Wi-Fi config to it, and then
you're good. Yeah, I mean, I think there are way more secure ways than just a push button magic auto config.
What's interesting is this. I think this is only just the beginning of the home. This is actually a specification that follows like the home digital specification.
So here's what's going to happen though. I have this real concern because you and I have seen this before, where we have got CEOs of startups or small companies are like, well, I use mesh in my house. Why can't I use it at work?
Sure, yeah, that's gonna come down.
We've always had this is an issue. It happened big with Apple. It's like, I use my Apple devices at home. Why doesn't my Apple not connect to my Apple TV at work? You know what I mean? So we have to, everybody always says, well, that's not enterprise, I don't care about it.
Yeah,
it's just, we have to keep a focus on what is actually happening in the home, because it's going to start driving.
Your Apple devices.
Whoever used to thought we'd have Apple TVs in every room in an office, but they're there.
But then when we look at the devices, then we start considering device capability.
Yep.
And I think this is where the biggest hurdle is going to be if no one addresses the. We're doing standards. We're talking about infrastructure and bringing this to the home, but then now your limiting factor is going to be the device in the home.
Yep.
And I think we need to start addressing standards.
Eris made a very interesting comment yesterday when I asked him the question about that. They're talking about roaming between these mesh and choosing which one. They were talking using KVR. They were talking about doing less than 100 millisecond roams in the house. And when asked the question, what do you do for those devices that don't support it? They were like, upgrade. Sorry.
Right. And that's true. I think this backward compatibility is really limiting us from moving forward. And with this EasyMesh, they are going to be supporting 802.11 R, K, and I believe B.
Yeah, it was KVR.
So we need to push devices or manufacturers to make these devices support it.
What's going to happen now when you go in and put your fancy new system in, and you call Comcast and go like, wait, it's not doing what I need to, and it's like, oh, you're using this device? You need to buy a new device. Right. How is that conversation going to go? I mean, that's going to be interesting.
I think that conversation needs to be done.
It does.
And we need to tell people, upgrade your devices.
But the problem is we have, through the history of Wi-Fi, we have continued to, I wouldn't say encourage, but we have continued to placate and allow these older devices. It's like warehouses using B scanners. It's like, I know it's a huge cost to upgrade, but it's also a huge cost to deal.
Is solution in warehouse?
Oh no, God no. I mean, low throughput.
This conversation too far.
It gets too far.
Let's end it to the point where we want to say that I think EasyMesh may work in the home, but I think we need to update the devices to follow the standards, especially following what Wi-Fi Alliance is putting out, because that'll be our limiting factor.
Well, okay, and then I guess my final on that is that EasyMesh might be good in the home. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to make.
I'm going to be optimistic.
I'm going to be pessimistic in the fact that they're riding on the hopes of AX, but that means you need AX clients. And so,
and then again, we come back to the
clients. And it's just like, AX is going to save you. And it was like, it'd only save you if all of your devices are AX.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
That's our viewpoint on EasyMesh and where we think it's going.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. We're gonna end this stream, but
we might post this up on the actual YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And see if we can figure out how to do that.
We'll also share out some links to where you can find the specification on EasyMesh.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at. There you go, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.